And believe me, this isn't just some dusty old concept from a history book. It's an idea that literally redrew the map of Europe, brought down ancient empires, and really shaped the world we all live in today. So let me ask you something. What actually makes a country a country? I mean, think about it. Is it just a line on a map, a shared language, or is it loyalty to a king? You know, before the 1800s, that last one was pretty much the answer. You could be part of a huge empire where your neighbors spoke a completely different language, had totally different traditions, but you were all connected by one thing: allegiance to the same emperor. But then, a brand new, really radical idea started to bubble up. And what's interesting is that this whole massive transformation, it doesn't kick off with a battle or a war. Nope, it starts with a dream, a really powerful, almost utopian vision of what the world could be. Okay, so picture this. It's 1848, and a French artist named Frédéric Souriau has this incredible vision. He creates a series of artworks showing his dream of a world made up of what he called democratic and social republics. What you're seeing here is the first and most famous of those prints. It's this long procession of different nations, each with their own unique flag, all marching in the same direction, towards freedom. And the symbolism here is just packed with meaning. I mean, look closer. You've got all these distinct groups of people. You can tell them apart by their flags and their clothes, but they're all marching together. And check out what's on the ground. The shattered remains of crowns and royal symbols. That's the old world of absolute kings, literally broken to pieces. Then you look up and you see angels and saints watching over them, representing this idea of fraternity or brotherhood among all these new nations. It was a beautiful, incredibly hopeful vision, and at the time, a completely utopian fantasy.
And this slide really nails the massive change we're talking about. The old world was all about these dynastic empires, right? These big, sprawling patchworks of different peoples who had basically nothing in common except for their loyalty to one single ruler. The new idea, the nation-state, was a complete 180. This was a country where the people themselves, the citizens, were in charge. They shared a common identity, a common history, a culture, and most importantly, they believed that the power to rule belonged to them.
But, you know, an idea is one thing. Actually making it happen, that's something else entirely. So now we're going to see how this beautiful dream was first hammered into reality in the fiery forge of revolution. Now, to really get what these revolutionaries were fighting for, you have to understand what they were fighting against, and that was absolutism. Think of it as the ultimate top-down system. You had a king or an emperor who held all the power. No limits, no checks, no balances. It was centralized, backed by the army, and it was often pretty brutal. There was just no space for what the people wanted. And the first place this idea of nationalism really exploded into action was, of course, the French Revolution in 1789. And the revolutionaries, well, they were absolute masters at creating this sense of a shared national identity. They didn't just get rid of a king, they built a nation from the ground up. They gave it a new flag, the tricolor we all know. They created a national assembly elected by the people. They pushed for a common language, Parisian French, to unite everyone. And, this is key, they declared a new mission for France, to help free all the peoples of Europe. Suddenly, this idea wasn't just a dream, it was contagious. So as this incredible idea starts spreading like wildfire, it basically sets the stage for a massive continent-wide showdown. It's a battle pitting these new, fired-up nationalists against the old They give it a new flag, the tricolor we all know. They created a national assembly elected by the people. They pushed for a common language, Parisian French, to unite everyone. And, this is key, they declared a new mission for France, to help free all the peoples of Europe. Suddenly, this idea wasn't just a dream, it was contagious. So as this incredible idea starts spreading like wildfire, it basically sets the stage for a massive continent-wide showdown. It's a battle pitting these new, fired-up nationalists against the old conservative powers who are desperately trying to stuff the genie back in the bottle. And if you want to hear the voice of this revolution, listen to this guy, a young Italian revolutionary named Giuseppe Mazzini. For him, a nation wasn't just a good political idea, it was practically a religious one. He truly believed that God wanted humanity to be organized into nations, and that his beloved Italy, which was then just a jumble of little kingdoms, had a destiny to become one unified country.
He was a true firebrand, starting up secret societies to push these radical new ideas. And on the other side, you've got the voice of the old establishment, captured perfectly in this quote from the ultra-powerful Austrian chancellor, Metternich. He saw guys like Mazzini in their dreams of democracy as a lethal threat to his entire world of emperors and aristocrats. To the powers that be, these ideas weren't about freedom. They were just plain dangerous.
And that clash just erupted all across Europe. It really gets going in the 1820s, with Greece fighting to break away from the Ottoman Empire. Then, boom, 1830, another revolution in France sends shockwaves everywhere, sparking rebellions left and right. And then you get to 1848, the so-called Springtime of Peoples, where it felt like the entire continent just rose up at once, with liberals everywhere demanding constitutions and their own nation-states.
But this fight wasn't only happening with guns and barricades. Culture became a huge battleground. You have the whole Romantic movement in art and writing, which was all about celebrating a shared history and culture. Thinkers like Herder argued that a nation's true soul, its Volksgeist, was found in the common people, in their folk songs and stories. It's why the Brothers Grimm went around collecting fairy tales. They thought they were capturing the essence of the German spirit. And in places like Poland, which had been literally carved up and controlled by Russia, their language and their music became powerful weapons of resistance.
But here's the thing. For all their passion, the liberal revolutions of 1848, they mostly failed. The old order came down hard and crushed them. But the idea of the nation, it didn't go away. It just mutated. The romantic dream of the poets was pushed aside for the cold, hard calculus of politicians. It was time to stop talking and start forging nations with iron.
Yeah, after 1848, everything shifts. Nationalism stops being this bottom-up movement led by liberal idealists fighting for the rights of the people. In a really clever and kind of cynical move, it gets co-opted by conservative leaders. They realized, hey, we can use these nationalist feelings to build up our own power, strengthen the state, and dominate our rivals. And you can see this play out perfectly with the unifications of Germany and Italy. Over in Germany, you had the ultimate pragmatist, Otto von Bismarck. He famously said Germany wouldn't be united by liberal speeches, but by iron and blood. And he meant it. He fought 3 wars to make it happen. Meanwhile, in Italy, you had the shrewd diplomat Cavour, who used clever alliances in politics. But he also got a huge boost from the passionate revolutionary Garibaldi and his volunteer army. So 2 very different approaches, but they both led to the same end result: 2 powerful new nation-states on the map of Europe.
But get this, here's a little story that shows just how big the gap was between these grand nationalist ideas and the lives of ordinary people. A huge number of the peasants in southern Italy who actually fought for unification had never heard the word Italia before. They thought they were fighting for something called l'Italia, and they were convinced she was the king's wife. It's kind of funny, but it's also a pretty stark reminder that for a lot of people, this whole ideology was just completely over their heads.
And this, unfortunately, is where our story takes a really dark turn. That noble dream of liberty and brotherhood that we started with, it's about to curdle into something far more sinister.
By the time we get to the late 1800s, the whole character of nationalism has changed. It's lost that idealistic democratic heart. The goal is no longer about liberating all of humanity. It's now all about promoting your nation, and usually that meant doing it at the expense of everyone else's. It became narrow, aggressive, and deeply intolerant.
And this new, darker form of nationalism had absolutely devastating results. Nationalist groups grew hostile and were itching for a fight. The major European powers started using smaller nationalist movements as pawns to expand their own empires. A toxic rivalry exploded over who could grab the most colonies, control the most trade, and build the biggest army. All of this tension, all this hostility, became focused on one volatile region: the Balkans. This complex mix of Slavic peoples that quickly earned the terrifying nickname, the powder keg of Europe.
And in 1914, that powder keg finally blew. The dream of the nation, now twisted together with the ambitions of empire, marched Europe straight into the catastrophe of the First World War. The very same idea that had started with a beautiful vision of liberty had ended in an unimaginable global disaster.
Which leaves us with a really tough question, doesn't it? From that hopeful dream in 1848 all the way to the muddy trenches of 1914, nationalism has shown itself to be one of the most powerful and one of the most dangerously unpredictable forces in human history. So what does that mean for us? What is its complicated and often contradictory legacy in our world today?